Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Carsonell, and tonight I'm with Quarantine Racism Educational Services, and I will be talking about Wayland, Mass, and recent cases that have happened there with racist attacks within the school, how to take action when the district chooses inaction, the case of Wayland, Mass, a mother and former superintendent fighting for justice against racist attacks at school. And then I have some headlines there. And I also decided to use attacks instead of incident because I think that kind of removes the accountability of the perpetrators, calling it an incident versus an attack. So here's our overview for today. First, I'm going to be doing an introduction. Well, and before that, I will be talking a little bit about quarantine racism, introducing our team, and speaking about my background. And then I'll get into the introduction, a little bit about the topic we'll be speaking about. I'll get more into the details of the attack that happened towards a Black student at Wayland High School. I'll discuss the inaction from the district, and I'm going to be speaking about a rally and how the victim's mother has been fighting for justice against the district. Then I will be speaking about the case of a former superintendent, Omar Easy, who filed a discrimination lawsuit against the school for workplace discrimination. And I will be discussing the case that occurred and his lawsuit. Then I'm going to discuss how to take action against the district, how to achieve change through policy, discuss the policy process a bit, and get into our takeaways. So, about us at Quarantine Racism Educational Services, we're dedicated to serving students, supporting teachers, admin, and parents through emphasizing equity and the strengths of diversity in the classroom. Our motto is Black Learners Matter Too. We are Black owned, veteran owned. We provide free resources such as toolkits and guides for educators. We have an equity professional development course, which is currently on sale. We have textbooks for sale. We'll be introducing a new course soon. We have live stream presentations such as this one. We do panel discussions as well on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've also introduced a new Spotlight Speaker series. I decided to come up with that because I thought it would be a great thing to have different guest speakers, parents, educators, administrators, students, and others. And we go live on the Quarantine Racism Educational Services Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Then at the bottom, I provided my referral link. So it's www.quarantineracism.com/?ref equals Hannah. And I would really like to do a spotlight speaker series for this case or these two cases. Um, I would like to try to reach out to them, but we shall see. And if not, we will still be doing some spotlight speaker series in the future. So this is our team here. It's Dr. Campbell, our founder, and he's based in New Jersey. He's a former principal, educator, a math teacher. His areas of expertise are educational services, consulting, and tax preparation. Dr. Al Mumin is a racial equity brand ambassador based in Nevada. She's a former professor, and her areas of expertise are grant acquisition, adult learning, and transformative education. Then there's me, Hannah Carsonell. I have my master's in public policy. I'm a former grassroots organizer. My areas of expertise are policy research and analysis, grassroots and nonprofit work, and cultural anthropology. So, my background, I received my bachelor's in political science with a minor in anthropology in 2022 at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and I received my master of public policy from there as well in 2023. So, the policy areas of expertise that I focused on are racial justice, energy policy, environmental justice, education policy, criminal justice reform, and disability policy. For anthropology, the different areas that I had my focus in were cultural anthropology, African American anthropology, Native American anthropology, forensics, and political anthropology. And for work experience, I've had 7 years of nonprofit work and grassroots organizing work within racial justice, activism, gun reform, and gun violence prevention advocacy, civic engagement, such as working on voter registration and restoration campaigns, environmental racism and environmental justice, energy policy, as well as education policy. So, let's introduce our topic tonight. A recent history of racism in Wayland schools. That's what we'll be discussing. The events that occurred recently within October of this year, and we'll also be discussing the discrimination faced by the former superintendent, Omar Easy, and the lawsuit that he's filed. So, a racist attack towards a Black student, late October 2025. So, the attack occurred when a Children at Play sign was hung with a belt around its neck, and it was found in a locker room. And there was a jersey on it of one of the Black football players, a 16-year-old boy. So, what were the consequences that happened as a result? Unfortunately, not enough, in my and a lot of others' opinions. So, the student perpetrators were suspended for a week, and something similar had happened to me growing up living in Pennsylvania when I faced an attack similarly. The students that perpetrated it were only required to, well, I think they were suspended for a week too, and required to write letters, and that was it. And I was also told to go to a boarding school if I didn't like how things were ran there by the principal. So, and then after this occurred, a rally was held due to the district's inaction, and a mother began to fight for justice for her son, who was the victim of the attack. So, students, parents, and various community members and leaders decided to hold a rally outside of the school, and the victim's mother spoke out at a Wayland community meeting, and dozens of angered parents attended the meeting. So, a little bit more detail getting into the inaction from the district below the surface of the student perpetrators just being suspended for a week. So, the beginning of the investigation. So, the principal of Wayland High School, Allison Mizoguchi, sends an email about the racist attack and the investigation is about to start. The new superintendent, David Fleischman, shares a statement as well. And the Wayland Police Chief, Ed Berman, confirms the awareness of the attack and that the police will be responding to it with an investigation. And the police also discussed their communication with the Middlesex DA office and the director of racial justice initiatives within it, as well as the ADL. So again, the consequences for the perpetrator so far have been that they were suspended for a week. And then school leadership announced that the student perpetrators are being held accountable for their actions, which is according to their non-discrimination protocol, which is an important thing to note because I'll get into later the policy process and how to address different issues. And that's one within it. The non-discrimination protocol is something that could potentially be changed if there's new leadership within the school or if they decide to agree with new proposals. So the administration has also said that they can't elaborate as to what's occurring as the investigation is ongoing and what the other consequences will be. So, a rally and a mother's fight for justice. The rally at the school was held on November 3rd. Students, parents, community members, and leaders held a rally outside of the high school. And then later on, there's a community meeting occurred on November 10th. There's a meeting with Wayland Public Schools and the Middlesex DA's office. Frustrated parents attended the meeting, and the victim's mother spoke out and began seeking justice. And here's a quote from the mother. She has not come out and named herself yet, but this is a quote from her. "I just want justice for my son. He deserves justice. It's devastating and heart-wrenching to know that my son's enduring pain from the incident, and they will be returning to school in a week." And I wanted to show a video of her, and I wanted to include that picture of the rally with no hate, racism, or excuses, because excusing it is, just as bad. Allowing it's just as bad as the act, because it gives people permission in the future to think that it's all right. There's an ad. We'll get to this.
Our community.
Change after an ugly.
Second. I just share that again.
When you step into Maurice's, our stylists are dedicated to giving you that styled feeling.
Well, tonight, parents in Wayland are calling for change after an ugly incident at the high school that police are investigating as a possible act of racism against a football player. Tammy Mutasa is in Wayland, where the boy's mother delivered a powerful message.
Tonight, the emotional mother of the student targeted in this latest hate incident called on the district and community to do better. So did other frustrated parents.
It is a heart-wrenching experience to witness your child subject to such hate. Our hearts ache for my son and others who look like him.
Tears and trauma from a Wayland High School mom who thought her 16-year-old son was safe at school.
I just want justice for my son. He deserves justice.
She says her junior son was targeted with a disturbing display found in the locker room. It was a yellow plastic children at play sign wearing his football jersey hanging from the ceiling with a belt around its neck.
It's devastating and heart-wrenching to know that while my son is enduring pain from the incident, they will be returning to school in a week.
The troubling incident sparking tough questions from frustrated parents at a meeting with school leaders and the Middlesex District Attorney.
And they're seeing the N-word sprayed on the pool house or a swastika or continued racist acts. Is that a safe community?
School leaders say the students involved in the hate incident are being held accountable, which is part of their non-discrimination protocol. But legally, they can't elaborate as the investigation continues.
We've got to do better because this is a really, really tough time.
And we know we can do better. And if we didn't want to, we wouldn't be here.
The Middlesex DA says they have an anti-hate, anti-bias task force working to address hate crimes for the last 5 years.
Where are we going with this problem? Is there something for which we need to hold an individual person accountable?
The community recently rallied, and this conversation is a start for healing, but the work is far from over.
I'm glad Wayland has taken a stand, and I'm glad that they're coming together, but we need more.
Wayland police are also working with the Anti-Defamation League as the investigation continues. In Wayland, Tammy Mutasa, WBZ News.
Tammy, thank you.
So I just wanted to highlight just her, raw emotion and the horrific act that occurred. It's one thing for me to be speaking about it, but I just wanted to highlight her voice and to show her passion and the passion of others and just the community coming together right now and trying to fight for her son. So now I'm going to be discussing the case of former Superintendent Omar Easy and get into a recent history of a racist school environment within Wayland schools and his discrimination lawsuit that he's filed. So in 2022, there was racist graffiti with the N-word on it targeting Superintendent Easy, which was found near the school. And later on, in February of 2022, Omar Easy was placed on leave. And then the next year, he filed a discrimination complaint. And then after that, Superintendent Fleischman was hired as an interim superintendent. Then the following year, in 2024, Omar Easy had filed a civil suit against the town and 2 school committee members. So Omar Easy's discrimination lawsuit. In March of 2024, Omar Easy decided to file a suit against the town and school committee members Ellen Greco and former member Christopher Ryan for $5 million in damages. A former district employee, Richard Whitehead, attempted to countersue Easy, but the lawsuit was dismissed. And this suit is still ongoing. So in cases like this, how can we attempt to take action against the district? One thing is planning and organizing rallies, speaking at school board meetings, spreading awareness of the issue through social media and other realms. Research policies to address the issue, such as like the issue with the policy within this one is the non-discrimination protocol appears to be not effective at the school, and it seems as if the perpetrators of this act and before with what happened with the superintendent are getting off fairly easy. So another thing that you can do is propose your own policy, speak to local officials, reach out to the NAACP or other organizations that have to do with whatever issue that it's concerning. So how to achieve change through policy. These are some things to keep in mind. Consistent coalition building is really important. So engaging with different community members, engaging with local officials, engaging with people from various organizations, and tracking developments of different policies, maybe looking at what's working other places and what isn't working within the own school and what might be working for somewhere else that might not work for you, but just to compare and contrast and be able to look at case studies and see how, when something's implemented, what the effects can be and how that could add a greater impact to the school. So collaboration with organizations, officials, and community is also an important thing to consider. And raising awareness consistently. So you have to be consistently raising awareness about the issue, speaking about it a lot, again, through social media, within the community, having different events, hosting rallies, protests, even just discussions to have like, panel discussions that we have as well, things such as that. And then the policy process I wanted to get into. So agenda setting is the first step. And then policy formulation, policy adoption, policy implementation, and then evaluation after that. And then you can see there that there's a bunch of arrows that say revision, because throughout the process, it's a cyclical process, and it's not just one step to the next without maybe having to take a step back and think about how things have been progressing and maybe fixing something here or there or adding on to a policy. So our takeaways today: where do we go from here? Racist attacks continue to be on the rise in schools, and often inaction is common. However, we can try to fight for change through advocacy, policy, and legal action. And stay tuned for part 2, where I'll be getting into more detail about how to take action when the district chooses an action through establishing change through advocacy and the policy process. And there are my sources that I've used, and here is how you can contact us. On each social media platform, our account is the same: Quarantine Racism Educational Services. And there's the email, moreinfo@quarantineracism.com. There's Dr. Campbell's information, Dr. Al-Newman's, and mine as well. And my referral link again, quarantineracism.com /RAF =Hannah.